If you're wondering the best way to install a trellis system for vine crops in a hoop house, you found the right video. In this video, we're discussing how to install trellis kits for any hoop house, but specifically the new trellis system from Bootstrap Farmer in a Bootstrap Farmer all-metal hoop house. Trellis kits allow for the vertical growth and harvest of vine crops like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and cucumbers for the lean and lower method of indeterminate vines. In general, there's 3 foot of space in between rows, with most vine crops being planted 18-inch on center and at least 4 foot from the last plant site to the end wall on either side to give you room to lean and lower the vines. Some people choose to run their trellis lines on vertical supports on their end walls, but sometimes end wall configurations do not mirror each other. In this example, this sketch of a 30 by 100 Bootstrap Farmer hoop house with a double door on one side and a single on the other will have different vertical positions. That means that overhead lines can be offset and do not provide enough trellis lines to accommodate all the rows. By installing a separate horizontal bar, trellis lines can independently be placed right in the middle of row configurations. For additional trellis line support, we recommend at least 1 horizontal truss bar for every 20 foot of hoop house length. So a 100 foot long hoop house would need 4 truss bars, while a 40 foot would need 1, and a 60 foot would have 2. Most of the footage in this video is from a 20 foot by 60 round hoop house. And if you're wondering if it's too much weight pulling on the lines and in turn pulling on the end walls, this is where a Bootstrap Farmer kit really shines. Because our end walls are anchored 2 foot into the ground at each vertical support, the load is distributed not only at the bar, but each connecting point from ground post to vertical supports to the horizontal bar to the hoop. And with added wind bracing and horizontal truss bars, there's even more load distribution. Of note, most full-grown vines with fruit weigh approximately 15 pounds at the roller hook. For this project, you'll just need general tools like a drill, some drill bits, a metal saw, a level, a ladder, tape measure, wrenches, pliers, and a ratchet and socket. And don't forget the safety glasses and the gloves. Now let's crack open the instructions. In the link below, you will find a 6-page instruction manual for the Bootstrap Farmer horizontal bar and truss kit. On page 1, the first step is to inventory your order. If you have any questions before, during, or after your install, you can call the tech team at 1-888-406-1982, extension 1, for our field trained staff. The first part of the process is to think about where your rows are going to go. And while you don't need to measure anything at this point, it's good to take time now to lay out and envision what your hoop house can look like. Because the bars are going to go across the entire width of the hoop house, you can always change this later on, but it's good to go into the project or any farm project with just a little pause to think through the project before you actually get started. For the horizontal bar part of your kit, we have 3 configurations: 14 foot and under, 20 foot, and 30 foot. Each kit is going to consist of 4 parts: 72-inch long by 1.5 square tubing, 6-inch by 1.25 square tube splices, number 10 self-tap screws, and 3/8 by 3.5-inch long bolts with nuts and washers. Depending on what kit configuration you have, you'll have a different number of these parts, and there's enough in the kit to do 1 horizontal bar on each end wall. And in this picture, you have 4 examples of different Bootstrap Farmer all-metal configurations, both in Gothic and round profiles. On page 2, we determine the size of the horizontal bars. Sometimes there's a tendency to want to put the bar much higher than is actually needed to give you more vine space, but the trade-off is a lot of extra labor from having to harvest, prune, and maintain the vines from a ladder or a step. Our recommendation is to stand flat-footed and put your hand on one of the vertical supports, and from the middle of your palm, go up between 4 to 6 inches. At minimum, the horizontal bar should sit right above the door frame, and we suspect that most people are going to put the bar right there. Once your measurement is determined, mark the vertical support, run a mason line, and mark the rest of the bars across the width of the hoop house, including the hoop itself. When you first put the horizontal bar together, it will exceed the width of the hoop house, and you can custom cut the bar to fit in a later step. To connect the bars, mark your splices in the middle and slide into the horizontal bars. Use the number 10 self-tapping screws and put 2 screws on either side of the splice into the 72-inch long horizontal bars. Once the splice bar is connected, turn the bar 180 degrees and run 4 more screws, 2 on either side of the seam, to take out any play of the bar. And now the head of our tech team, Julian, is going to place the bar on the height marks that you marked earlier, clamp it down, mark the width, and cut the bar to size.
So we've got our bar all connected together. We've got 3 sections here connected with our connectors in the center. We've got screws top and bottom to hold it all together. And right now, because this structure is a new structure going up, we've just got it resting on our hip boards, which in this structure are fairly tall. What we'll do next is determine, once we raise it up here, we'll clamp it in place, and measure it and figure out exactly how long this needs to be, and then we'll cut one end of it off so it'll be the right inside length, and then we can mount it. So now we've got the horizontal bar temporarily clamped into place. For the height of the trellis, it's going to go to the other end wall. We're measuring here. We will mark this so that we can cut it and refit this back up here in its place and then permanently mount it into the structure.
Once the bar is clamped into place, move a ladder to the outside of the hoop house. Take a 3/8 inch bit and drill a hole right through the middle of the lock channel using the guidelines imprinted on the lock channel, and drill all the way through the lock channel, the vertical support, and the square tubing until you're through to the other side. Of note, if you happen to run into a splice during this process, you will have to go through an additional 2 layers, and that's okay. If you have to move a couple of the screws that hold the bar together, no big deal. If you're retrofitting a kit and the plastic is already on, simply drill through the plastic and the head of the bolt, and the lock channel spring will keep the plastic secure. For the ends of the horizontal bar, drill a 1/2 inch access hole on one side of the bar facing the interior of the hoop house like this picture. Remember only to drill one side. This access hole will allow you to place a 5/8 inch nut driver to secure number 10 self-tap screw connecting the bar to the hoop. Repeat for the other side of the bar, and now one horizontal bar is installed. Simply repeat this process for the other side of the hoop house, and then you're ready for the wire trellis. The number of wire trellises you should have on hand will be determined by the number of trellises you ordered. You can order as little as 1 and as many trellises as you need. Each trellis will consist of 2 9-inch turnbuckles, 2 3/8 inch by 4 inch eye bolts with nuts and washers, 2 quick links, a pre-cut 1/4 inch 719/304 stainless wire cable that's crimped on one end onto one of the turnbuckles at our warehouse. Additionally, to finish it off, there's 2 wire crimps. Drill a 3/8 inch hole through the horizontal bar in the center of where your rows are going to be laid out. If you're retrofitting this trellis kit and there's already plastic on your end walls, make sure that you don't punch through the other side. If you do, simply repair with repair tape. Place the 3/8 inch eye bolt through the hole with the eye bolt part facing the interior of the hoop house. Secure with a washer and nut in the dead space between the bar and the plastic created by the gap of the vertical supports. Install the eye bolt with the turnbuckle and cable attached first. Once the wire cable is over the horizontal bars, run the loose end through the turnbuckle on the opposite side of the hoop house. Pull as much slack out of the line as possible. Fully adjust all turnbuckles to the maximum opening while still having thread inside of the turnbuckles like in this video. Thread the loose end of the wire through the turnbuckle and pull out as much slack as possible. If you have another friend with you, have them take slack out of the line and help put tension on the line as you pull out the slack. Once the line is hand tight, secure with the 2 anchors, and we like to tape up the end of the loose wire to help protect workers and vines from the end of the line. On the side that you just anchored, adjust the turnbuckle to pull the wire as tight as possible. Depending on how much slack you took out, be prepared to turn down at least half or possibly all the way. The line should be very tight at this point. Of note, the more lines you put, the more adjustment you're going to have to do. So we suggest hand tightening first, get everything pretty tight, and then make your final adjustments as the bar takes on a load. You're now ready for roller hooks. As the season progresses and more weight is added to the line, you can take the stretch out by adjusting the first turnbuckle all the way down. If you need to make additional adjustments throughout the season, you can do so at the other 9-inch turnbuckle on the opposite side of the hoop house. Thanks for watching, and feel free to reach out with any questions or custom bids. We've got lots of new videos coming up in 2023, including a new podcast series with the Naked Gardeners, home gardening tips with ATL Grows Milan Turner, a new hydro series with Drew Dimmler at Big Tex Urban Farms, and new product launches throughout 2023. So subscribe to stay up to date and have a great growing season.